Captain Tejo stood on the bridge of the UES Harmony and watched the stars stretch into lines as they jumped to faster-than-light speed. The war against the Devourers had been going badly for 3 years now, and everyone knew it. These creatures ate entire star systems and left nothing behind but empty space. The Galactic Coalition had tried everything: bigger weapons, smarter tactics, faster ships. But nothing worked. The Devourers always seemed to know what was coming next. Today, the Harmony was heading to the Proxima Nebula with a mixed crew of humans and aliens. Tejo had served with alien species before, but this mission felt different. The weight of desperation hung in the air like smoke. Every person and creature on this ship knew they were probably flying toward their deaths. Engineer. Sojin walked onto the bridge carrying a small orange carrier box. She moved carefully, trying not to draw attention to herself. Inside the box, something was making soft mewing sounds. Tejo turned around and raised an eyebrow. "Sojin, what is that noise coming from your box?" Tejo asked. Sojin looked nervous and shifted the carrier from one hand to the other. "Captain, I brought something for crew morale. The mission briefing said we would be away from Earth for 6 months, and I thought maybe the crew could use some comfort." She opened the carrier, and a fat orange cat poked his head out. The cat looked around with bright green eyes and let out a loud meow. His whiskers twitched as he sniffed the recycled air of the spaceship. "This is Nacho," Sojin said quietly. "I found him outside my apartment building last month. He does not have anyone else, and I thought maybe he could help keep spirits up during the long journey." Communications Officer Dae-Woo leaned over to look at the cat. Nacho immediately started purring, a deep rumbling sound that filled the quiet bridge. "I have to admit, that sound is quite relaxing," Dae-Woo said with a smile. Commander Velthari of the Zentorian contingent walked over to see what was happening. The Zentorians looked like tall, thin humans with blue-gray skin and large, black eyes. They were known for being logical and efficient in everything they did. Velthari stared at Nacho for a long moment. "Explain to me the tactical purpose of this creature," Velthari said in his precise, clipped accent. Sojin looked confused. "He does not have a tactical purpose. He is just a companion. Humans like having animals around because they make us feel better." "Feel better," Velthari repeated slowly, as if the words did not make sense in his mouth. "You brought a non-functional life form onto a military vessel because it makes you feel better." "That is right," Sojin said, holding Nacho a little closer to her chest. Velthari made a note on his electronic tablet. "I will need to include this in my report. Human decision-making continues to baffle our strategists. 3 Kriktar warriors came onto the bridge to see what the commotion was about. The Kriktar looked like giant praying mantises that walked upright on 2 legs. They had 4 arms and compound eyes that could see in all directions at once. They were fierce fighters, but they thought in very simple terms. Everything was either a threat or not a threat. The lead Kriktar, whose name sounded like clicking and buzzing when he spoke, examined Nacho carefully. The cat looked back at the alien with complete indifference and started cleaning his paw with his tongue. "Small predator shows no fear," the Kriktar clicked approvingly. "Perhaps tiny warrior has hidden combat applications." "He is not a warrior," Sojin tried to explain. "He is just a pet. Humans keep animals for companionship and emotional support." The concept of emotional support did not translate well into Kriktar language. Their translator device made a series of error beeps before giving up entirely. The Kriktar warriors looked at each other in confusion. "Your translation machine is broken," one of them said to Dae-Woo. "Please repair it so we can understand the purpose of the small predator." Dae-Woo sighed. He had been trying to explain human emotions to alien species for 5 years, and it never got easier. The cat serves no military function. Humans evolved as social creatures who form emotional bonds with other species. Having Nacho here will make the human crew members happier and more relaxed. Velthari made another note. "So the creature is a form of biological mood regulation technology." "Not exactly," Dae-Woo said, but he could see that the aliens were determined to find a logical explanation for something that was simply about feelings. Nacho had grown tired of being stared at by so many strange creatures. He jumped out of Sojin's arms and landed gracefully on the deck. Without hesitation, he walked over to an air vent near the floor and squeezed himself through the grating. His orange tail disappeared into the ventilation system. "Where is he?" "Going," Velthari asked with alarm. "Cats like to explore," Sojin said. "He will find his way around the ship and then come back when he gets hungry." "You are allowing an unsecured life form to roam freely through critical ship systems," Velthari said, his voice rising slightly. "He is just curious," Sojin said. "Cats like to investigate new places. It is normal behavior." The Kriktar warriors immediately became agitated. In their society, allowing an unknown creature to wander through important areas was a serious security breach. They started clicking rapidly to each other in their native language. "We must track the small predator," the lead Kriktar announced. "It could be conducting reconnaissance for enemy forces." Teho held up his hand to calm everyone down. "The cat is harmless. Sojin is right that this is normal behavior for Earth cats. We will monitor his location through the ship's internal sensors, but he is not a threat." "Captain, I must protest this decision," Velthari said formally. "Allowing an unpredictable biological entity to access sensitive areas violates 17 different coalition security protocols." "Noted and logged," Teho said. "But the cat stays. If it makes my human crew perform better, then it serves a military purpose, whether you understand it or not." Medical Officer Hyawan had been quietly watching the entire exchange. She stepped forward and addressed the alien officers. "Perhaps we could think of this as an experiment. We can monitor the psychological and physical effects of having Nacho aboard and document any changes in crew performance." "An experiment," Velthari said, considering this. "That would provide useful data on human biological responses to companion animals in combat situations." "Exactly," Hyawan said. "We can gather scientific evidence about whether pets actually improve human military effectiveness." This seemed to satisfy the logical minds of the alien crew members. If they could not understand the emotional reasoning behind bringing a cat to war, at least they could treat it as a research project. Pilot Jin Woo called out from his station. "Captain, we are approaching the Proxima Nebula. Should I take us out of faster-than-light travel?" "Yes, bring us to normal space," Teho ordered. "All stations, prepare for possible contact with Devourer forces." The ship dropped out of faster-than-light. Speed and the star field returned to normal. In the distance, the Proxima Nebula glowed like a giant cloud of purple and gold gas. Somewhere in that beautiful and deadly maze, the Devourers were building their next attack force. "Security Chief." Miran ran a full sensor sweep of the surrounding area. "No immediate contacts, Captain, but there are a lot of places to hide in that nebula." "Take us in slowly," Teho said, "and keep all weapons ready." As the Harmony moved toward the nebula, Nacho was exploring the ventilation system 3 decks below. He had already found 17 interesting smells, 2 small maintenance robots that he decided were not worth hunting, and a warm spot near the engine room that would make an excellent napping place. The cat had no idea that he was about to become the most important creature in the galaxy. 3 weeks had passed since the Harmony entered the Proxima Nebula, and Medical Officer Hewan was staring at her computer screen with growing confusion. The numbers made no sense according to everything she knew about human psychology during long space missions. She ran the analysis program again, but got the same impossible results. Human crew members were performing 23% better than their baseline measurements from before the mission started. Sleep quality had improved dramatically. Stress, hormone levels were down across the board. Most surprising of all, interpersonal conflicts between human crew members had dropped to almost 0. During previous long missions, humans usually started getting irritable and argumentative after the first month in space. The alien crew members showed no change in their performance metrics. The Zentaurians remained as coldly efficient as always. The Kriktar warriors maintained their usual level of aggressive readiness. Only the humans were different. Hyewan walked down to the engineering section to find Sojin. She found the engineer lying on her back underneath a power coupling with Nacho sitting on her stomach. The cat was purring loudly while Sojin worked. "How are you feeling these days?" Hyewan asked. "Great, actually," Sojin said without stopping her work. "I was worried about being away from Earth for so long, but having Nacho here makes everything feel more normal. It is like having a little piece of home with me." And the other human crew members seemed to be enjoying him too. "Oh, yes," So-Jin said, emerging from under the machinery. Jin-Woo spends his break time teaching Nacho to play with a string toy. Dae-Woo likes to have him sit on his lap while he works on translations. Even Mi-Ran has started leaving little treats around the ship for him to find. Hye-Won made notes on her tablet. What about Captain Tai-Ho? The captain pretends he does not care about cats, but I caught him talking to Nacho in the observation lounge yesterday. He was telling him all about Earth and asking if he missed the sunshine. This was fascinating data, but Hye-Won could not figure out the mechanism behind it. How could one small animal have such a dramatic effect on human psychology? She decided to discuss her findings with the alien officers to get their perspective. She found Commander Velthari in the tactical planning room studying star charts of the nebula. The Zentaurian looked up when she entered. "Commander, I wanted to share some interesting medical data with you," Hye-Won said. "The human crew is showing significant improvement in all performance categories since we brought the cat aboard." Velthari set down his stylus and gave her his full attention. "Please explain the nature of these improvements." Hye-Won showed him the charts and graphs on her tablet. "Better sleep, lower stress, improved concentration, increased cooperation. The effect is consistent across all human crew members." "Fascinating," Velthari said, studying the data carefully. "This suggests that the cat creature serves as some form of biological enhancement technology. Perhaps it releases pheromones that affect human brain chemistry." "I tested for that," Hye-Won said. "Nacho does not produce any chemicals that would cause these effects. The improvement seems to be purely psychological." "Psychological," Velthari repeated the word slowly. "You mean the humans perform better simply because they believe the cat makes them feel good?" "That is a very simplified way to put it. But, essentially, yes." Velthari made extensive notes. "Remarkable. Humans can actually improve their own performance through irrational emotional attachment to non-functional creatures. This could have significant military applications if we could understand the mechanism." Meanwhile, Nacho had established a daily routine that took him all over the ship. He had claimed the ventilation system as his personal highway and could travel from the bridge to the engine room without ever walking through the regular corridors. The crew had grown used to seeing his orange face peeking out of air vents at random times. Pilot Jin-Woo was the first to notice that Nacho seemed to be hunting something that was not there. He found the cat in the sensor array room crouched, low with his tail twitching. Nacho was staring intently at empty air near the quantum communication equipment. His pupils were dilated, and his whiskers were pointed forward in the way cats looked when they were tracking prey. "What are you looking at, buddy?" Jin-Woo asked, but there was nothing visible in the direction of Nacho's intense stare. The cat suddenly pounced at the empty space, swatting with his paws at something Jin-Woo could not see. Nacho landed gracefully and immediately resumed his hunting posture, as if whatever he was chasing had moved to a new location. Jin-Woo mentioned this strange behavior to Security Chief Mi-Ran during their next shift change. Mi-Ran was always interested in anything that might represent a security concern. "Show me exactly where this happened," Mi-Ran said. Jin-Woo led her to the sensor array room. Nacho was not there at the moment, but Jin-Woo pointed to the area where he had seen the cat hunting invisible prey. He was focused on that space right there, next to the quantum relay panel. His behavior was exactly like when my sister's cat hunts mice in her barn back on Earth. Mi-Ran ran a full security scan of the area with her handheld detector. Everything came back normal. No foreign objects, no energy signatures, no signs of any problems whatsoever. "Maybe he was just playing," Mi-Ran said. But something about the situation bothered her. 2 days later, Mi-Ran found Nacho in the lower deck corridors exhibiting the same hunting behavior. The cat was intensely focused on a specific wall panel, pawing at it repeatedly and making small chirping sounds. When Mi-Ran approached, Nacho looked at her and then back at the wall, as if trying to tell her something important. "What is it?" "Nacho," Mi-Ran asked. "What do you see there?" She ran another security scan but found nothing unusual. The wall panel was just a standard access point for routine maintenance, but Nacho continued to act like there was something very interesting hidden behind it. Mi-Ran decided to open the panel and look inside. Behind the wall was a normal collection of power cables and data lines. Nothing seemed out of place, but Nacho immediately stuck his head into the opening and began sniffing around with great interest. The cat pulled his head back out and sat down, staring at Miran with an expression that seemed almost frustrated. It was as if he was trying to communicate something important but could not make her understand. "I wish you could talk," Miran said, "because you are definitely trying to tell me something." When the Kriktar warriors heard about Nacho's strange hunting behavior, they became very interested. In their culture, any predator that showed unusual alertness was taken seriously. Their own hunting instincts were highly developed, and they respected the same qualities in other species. The lead Kriktar warrior approached Nacho while the cat was sitting in the main corridor cleaning his fur. Instead of trying to pet him, like the humans did, the Kriktar performed a formal warrior's salute. He crossed his forearms over his chest and clicked a greeting in his native language. Nacho looked up at the giant insect creature and seemed to consider the situation carefully. Then he stood up, arched his back in a long stretch, lifted his tail high in the air, and walked away with complete indifference. The Kriktar warriors were amazed by this display. "The small predator shows perfect confidence," the lead warrior announced to his companions. "He acknowledges our respect but demonstrates that he needs nothing from us. This is the behavior of a true hunter." "Perhaps the small predator sees threats that our sensors cannot detect," another Kriktar suggested. "We should watch his behavior more carefully." Word spread through the alien crew that the cat might be more important than they had originally thought. The Zentorians began treating Nacho as a piece of advanced human technology that they did not yet understand. The Kriktar started following him around to observe his hunting techniques. The first real combat test came when Devourer scouts attacked a coalition supply convoy near the edge of the nebula. The Harmony responded to the distress call along with 2 other ships. It was a brief but intense fight against 6 Devourer vessels that looked like black metallic spiders with glowing red cores. During the battle, the human crew performed exceptionally well. Jin Wu pulled off flying maneuvers that he had never attempted before. Daewoo coordinated communications between allied ships with perfect timing. Mi Ran managed defensive systems with remarkable efficiency. Most importantly, the human crew worked together like they had been training as a team for years instead of just 3 weeks. Their responses were faster and more creative than usual. They seemed to anticipate each other's actions without needing to communicate. The Devourers were driven off with minimal damage to the coalition forces. After the battle, Velthari spent hours analyzing the performance data. Human reaction times had improved by 18%. Decision-making speed was up 22%. Communication efficiency had increased by 15%. The cat creature must be some form of bio-enhancement system, Velthari concluded in his report. Human military effectiveness increases significantly when the animal is present. Recommend immediate study to determine if this technology can be replicated for other species. But no one could explain exactly how a small orange cat was making. Human soldiers fight better. The mystery was growing deeper with each passing day. Engineer So-Jin was running a routine maintenance check on the quantum communication array when she noticed Nacho sitting in the doorway watching her work. The cat had been spending more and more time in this particular section of the ship over the past few days. He would sit quietly for hours, staring at the equipment with intense concentration. "What do you find so interesting about this room?" So-Jin asked him as she calibrated the quantum resonance sensors. Nacho stood up and walked purposefully toward the main communication console. He jumped onto a maintenance platform and began exhibiting his hunting behavior again. His pupils dilated and his tail started twitching as he focused on something near the quantum transmission array. So-Jin had seen him do this many times before, but today, something was different. Nacho was not just staring at empty air. He was tracking something that was moving. His head moved from left to right in small, precise movements, following an invisible target. "Okay, this is getting weird," So-Jin muttered. She picked up her handheld scanner and pointed it at the area where Nacho was looking. The scanner showed nothing unusual. All readings were normal. But Nacho continued his intense tracking behavior, occasionally reaching out with his paw as if trying to catch something. So-Jin decided to run a deeper scan using the ship's main sensor array. She connected her scanner to the quantum communication system and ran a full spectrum analysis of the area that had captured Nacho's attention. For a moment, nothing appeared on her screen except normal background radiation and quantum static. Then she saw it. a tiny spike in the quantum field readings that lasted for only a fraction of a second. She ran the scan again and caught another brief anomaly. "That is impossible," Sojin said aloud. The readings showed quantum resonance signatures that were smaller than atoms and seemed to phase in and out of detectable reality. According to everything she knew about physics, these signatures should not exist. They were operating on a level that was beyond the reach of current coalition technology. Sojin called Chief Science Officer Quan Su on her communicator. "I need you to come to the quantum communication room right away. I am seeing something that does not make sense." Quan Su arrived within minutes, carrying his advanced scanning equipment. He was a serious man who had spent 15 years studying quantum physics and alien technologies. If anyone could explain what Sojin was seeing, it would be him. "Show me what you found," Quan Su said. Sojin pointed to Nacho, who was still tracking invisible targets with his eyes. "Watch his behavior, and then look at these quantum readings." Quan Su observed the cat for several minutes while monitoring the quantum field measurements. His expression grew more concerned with each passing moment. "These signatures match theoretical predictions for something we thought was just rumor," Quan Su said quietly. "Devourer surveillance nanites." "Surveillance nanites," Sojin repeated. "I thought those were just coalition intelligence theories." "They were theories until now," Quan Su said grimly. "The nanites would be microscopic machines that exist partially outside normal space-time. They could infiltrate our ships and gather intelligence through quantum entanglement without being detected by conventional sensors." Sojin felt her blood turn cold. "You mean there could be enemy spy devices on our ship right now?" "Not just our ship," Quan Su said. "If these nanites exist, they could be on every coalition vessel in the fleet. Every meeting, every battle plan, every tactical decision could be compromised." They watched Nacho continue his hunting behavior. The cat would focus intensely on one spot, then suddenly turn his attention to a different area as if the invisible prey had moved. "But how can Nacho see them when our sensors cannot?" Sojin asked. Quan Su was already running advanced scans with his equipment. Cat senses evolved over millions of years to detect the smallest movements and heat signatures. Their nervous systems are incredibly sensitive to electromagnetic changes and quantum fluctuations. It is possible that their predatory instincts allow them to perceive things that exist on the quantum level. So Nacho has been hunting enemy spy devices this entire time. "It appears that way," Quan Su said. "We need to inform Captain Tai Ho immediately." They found the captain in his ready room studying battle reports from other ships in the task force. When they explained their discovery, his face went pale. "Are you telling me that the Devourers have been listening to everything we say and watching everything we do?" Tai Ho asked. "It would explain why they always seem to know our plans in advance," Quan Su said. "Every time we try to surprise them, they are ready for us. Every tactical advantage we think we have turns out to be useless." Tai Ho stood up and began pacing around his small office. "How long have these nanites been on coalition ships?" "There is no way to know for certain," Quan Su said. "They could have been infiltrating our vessels for months or even years. The technology is so advanced that we would never have detected them without accidentally stumbling across them." "But we did not stumble across them," Tai Ho said. "Nacho found them." The implications were staggering. The war against the Devourers had been going badly because the enemy knew every move the coalition was planning to make. Battle strategies were useless when the other side could read them in advance. No wonder every major engagement ended in defeat or costly victory for coalition forces. "We need to test this theory," Tai Ho said. "If cats can detect these nanites, then we need to verify it under controlled conditions." Quan Su set up an experiment in the science lab. He used the ship's quantum field generators to create artificial signatures that match the nanite readings. Then he brought Nacho into the lab to see if the cat would react to the artificial quantum disturbances. The results were immediate and dramatic. Nacho entered the lab and immediately went into hunting mode. He tracked the artificial quantum signatures with perfect accuracy, following them as Quan Su moved the field generators around the room. "This confirms it," Quan Su said. "Cats can detect quantum-level phenomena that our technology cannot perceive. Their evolutionary development on Earth created predators capable of sensing things that should not exist. Medical Officer Hye-Wan joined the experiment to document Nacho's neurological responses. She attached small monitoring devices to the cat that could measure his brain activity and nervous system reactions. His sensory processing is off the charts, Hye-Wan reported. When he detects the quantum signatures, his neural activity spikes in areas associated with hunting and prey tracking. His entire nervous system is responding to stimuli that we cannot even measure properly. Evolution is amazing, So-Jin said, watching Nacho pounce at an invisible target. Millions of years of hunting mice and birds accidentally created the perfect devourer nanite detector. But the discovery also meant that the situation was much worse than anyone had realized. If the nanites were present on the Harmony, they were probably present on every ship in the Coalition fleet. The Devourers had been winning the war because they had perfect intelligence about every Coalition plan and movement. Captain Tai-Ho called an emergency meeting with Commander Velthari and the Kriktar warriors. When he explained the discovery, their reactions were exactly what he expected. "You are telling me that a small Earth predator succeeded where our most advanced sensor technology failed," Velthari said in disbelief. "That appears to be the case," Tai-Ho said. The lead Kriktar warrior clicked approvingly. "We knew the small predator was a mighty hunter. Now we understand why. He hunts enemies that exist beyond normal reality. The question now is, what do we do with this information?" Tai-Ho said. "If these nanites are on every Coalition ship, then the entire war effort is compromised." Velthari was already making calculations on his tablet. "We must inform Coalition. Command immediately. Every ship in the fleet needs to be tested for nanite infiltration. And we need more cats," So-Jin added. "If Nacho can detect these things, then other cats probably can too." Kwansu was studying the quantum readings from their experiments. The nanites seem to be most active near communication equipment and strategic planning areas. They are specifically targeting military intelligence, which means they have been listening to our battle plans and troop movements for who knows how long, Tai-Ho said grimly. The war against the Devourers had just taken a completely unexpected turn. The Coalition's greatest enemy was not superior firepower or advanced technology. It was perfect information. The Devourers knew everything because they had been secretly watching and listening from the very beginning. But now the Coalition had something the Devourers did not expect. Cats. Small, independent, curious creatures that had evolved the perfect senses for detecting impossible prey. Nacho had accidentally become the most valuable military asset in the galaxy. The question was whether this discovery had come too late to change the outcome of the war. The news about Nacho's discovery spread through the Coalition fleet faster than a quantum communication burst. Within hours of Captain Tai-Ho's report reaching Coalition command, every ship in the task force was buzzing with activity as crews searched for signs of nanite infiltration. Commander Velthari received the response from Zentaurian High Command first. The message was brief and to the point, as all Zentaurian communications were. "Remarkable development. Small Earth predator demonstrates capabilities beyond our understanding. Request immediate tactical analysis of cat-based detection systems." The Kriktar response was even more dramatic. The warrior clans were fascinated by the idea that tiny predators could hunt enemies that existed beyond normal reality. Within 6 hours, the lead Kriktar warrior received authorization to request battle cats for all ships in their battle group. "We must have these mighty hunters on every vessel," the Kriktar announced to Captain Tai-Ho. "The small predators will help us find the invisible enemies." "It does not work that way," So-Jin tried to explain. "Cats are not military equipment. They are living creatures with their own personalities and needs. The concept of personality in non-sentient creatures was difficult for the Kriktar to understand. In their hive-like society, individual traits were less important than function and purpose. "Can the battle cats be programmed for specific hunting tasks?" one of the Kriktar asked. "No, they cannot be programmed," So-Jin said patiently. "Cats are independent creatures who do what they want to do. You cannot give them orders like you would give to a soldier." This information was deeply troubling to the Kriktar warriors. How could they deploy weapons that would not follow commands? But they had seen Nacho's effectiveness firsthand and wanted that capability for their own ships. Medical Officer Hie Wan found herself in the unexpected position of becoming an expert on cat behavior and biology. She spent hours writing reports for alien scientists who wanted to understand how Earth cats had evolved such sensitive quantum detection abilities. The evolutionary pressures on Earth created predators with incredibly refined sensory systems, she explained in a briefing to the mixed crew. Cats developed the ability to detect tiny movements, electromagnetic changes, and even gravitational fluctuations because they needed to hunt small prey that could hide almost anywhere. So their hunting instincts accidentally gave them the ability to perceive quantum phenomena, Communications Officer Daewoo added. Exactly, Haiwan said. Earth's unique electromagnetic field and diverse ecosystem created selection pressures that no other known planet has experienced. Chief Science Officer Quan Su was working around the clock to develop what he called the Feline Early Warning system. The idea was to place cats on coalition ships and monitor their behavior through advanced AI analysis. When the cats showed hunting behavior, it would indicate the presence of nanites. We can track their eye movements, body posture, and neural activity, Quan Su explained to Captain Tai Ho. The AI will learn to recognize the specific patterns that indicate nanite detection. But will it work with cats other than Nacho? Taeho asked. So far, our tests suggest that all Earth cats have this ability to some degree, Quan Su said. Some are more sensitive than others, but the basic capability seems to be universal among felines. The biggest challenge was explaining to alien species why cats could not simply be manufactured or replicated through technology. Commander Velthari spent hours trying to understand why the coalition could not just build artificial cats that would perform the same function. The cat's effectiveness comes from millions of years of evolutionary development, Hie Wan explained for the 15th time. Their nervous systems, sensory organs, and instinctive behaviors all work together in ways that we cannot artificially reproduce. But surely the underlying mechanism can be identified and copied, Velthari insisted. Even if we could understand every detail of how cat senses work, we would still need to recreate the entire evolutionary context that shaped those senses, Quan Su said. The quantum detection ability is just one part of a complex biological system that took millions of years to develop. Velthari made extensive notes, but clearly remained frustrated by the inefficiency of biological solutions to technological problems. Meanwhile, Admiral Young-sik was facing an unprecedented logistical challenge. Coalition Command had authorized Operation Whiskers, a massive redeployment of Earth's cat population to the military fleet. Pet owners across human space were being asked to volunteer their cats for military service. The response was overwhelming. When humans learned that their pets could help win the war against the Devourers, thousands of cat owners stepped forward to contribute their animals to the war effort. Transport ships began collecting cats from Earth, Mars, the lunar colonies, and dozens of human settlements throughout the galaxy. But managing thousands of cats aboard military vessels created problems that no military strategist had ever considered before. Cats needed food, water, litter boxes, veterinary care, and environmental enrichment. They also needed human companions who understood their needs and could interpret their behavior. We are essentially creating a new branch of the military, Admiral Young-sik told his staff. The Galactic Defense Cat Corps. Engineer Sojin found herself promoted to the position of Senior Feline Integration Specialist, a job title that did not exist until 3 weeks ago. Her responsibilities included training human crew members to work with cats and helping alien species understand feline behavior. The most important thing to remember is that cats are not machines, she explained to a group of Zentarian officers. They have moods, preferences, and individual personalities. A cat that is happy and comfortable will be much more effective than one that is stressed or frightened. The Zentaurians took detailed notes on concepts like comfort, mood, and individual personality as they applied to non-sentient creatures. Their scientists were fascinated by the complexity of Earth's evolutionary biology. Pilot Jin Woo volunteered to help train other pilots in cat behavior recognition. He had become quite skilled at interpreting Nacho's hunting signals and could predict nanite activity with remarkable accuracy. When Nacho's ears turn forward and his pupils dilate, it means he has detected something, Jin Woo explained to a group of human and alien pilots. When his tail starts twitching, he is tracking a moving target. When he crouches low and prepares to pounce, it means the nanites are very close. Security Chief Miran was working with Kriktar warriors to develop new security protocols based on cat alerts. The insectoid fighters had tremendous respect for Nacho's hunting abilities and wanted to incorporate feline intelligence into their defensive strategies. The small predator sees enemies that our sensors cannot detect, the lead Kriktar explained to his warriors. We must learn to read his signals and respond accordingly. But the most significant development came when long-range sensors detected a massive devourer fleet moving toward the Kepler 442 system. The enemy force was larger than anything the Coalition had ever faced before. Intelligence estimates suggested that the Devourers were planning their final offensive against Coalition space. They are accelerating their timeline, Admiral Young-Sik reported to the fleet commanders. Our discovery of their nanite network has forced them to act before we can fully deploy our cat-based countermeasures. Captain Tejo studied the tactical displays, showing the approaching Devourer fleet. Hundreds of black spider-like ships were moving in perfect formation toward a system that contained 3 billion Coalition citizens. How long before our cat deployment is complete? Tejo asked. We have cats aboard 60% of the fleet, Admiral Young-Sik replied. But we need at least another week to get full coverage. We may not have another week, Tejo said. The Devourers know that we have discovered their surveillance network. They will want to strike before we can fully counter their intelligence advantage. Velthari was studying the enemy formation patterns on his tactical display. Their approach, Vector suggests they are confident of victory. They are not attempting to hide their movements or use deceptive tactics, because they think they still know all our plans, Security Chief Miran realized. They do not know that we can detect their nanites now. Then we have one advantage, Tejo said. For the first time in this war, we might be able to surprise them. The Coalition fleet began preparing for what everyone knew would be the decisive battle of the war. Ships that had cats aboard reported significant improvements in nanite detection and crew performance. Ships without cats remained vulnerable to enemy surveillance and showed no improvement in their capabilities. Nacho had become the most famous cat in the galaxy, but he remained completely unaware of his celebrity status. He spent his time exploring the ship, hunting invisible nanites, and accepting treats from grateful crew members. As far as he was concerned, he was just doing what cats had always done, hunting things that moved and making humans happy. The war was about to reach its climax, and everything would depend on whether enough cats could be deployed in time to give the Coalition the intelligence advantage they needed to survive. The final battle began at 0600 hours Coalition Standard Time, when the massive Devourer fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Tejo stood on the bridge of the Harmony and watched as hundreds of enemy ships appeared on the tactical display like a swarm of black spiders against the stars. Enemy fleet composition confirmed, Communications Officer Daewoo reported. 437 vessels, including 12 super dreadnoughts, and what appears to be a mobile construction platform. The construction platform was the size of a small moon and glowed with an ominous red light. Intelligence reports suggested that the Devourers used these platforms to build hive structures capable of consuming entire star systems. If they completed construction in the Kepler 442 system, 3 billion Coalition citizens would die. Coalition fleet status, Captain Tejo asked. 218 ships ready for battle. Admiral Young-Sik's voice came through the communications system. 87 ships report full feline integration, 61 ships have partial cat coverage, and 70 ships are operating without cat support. Nacho was sitting in his favorite spot on the bridge, cleaning his paws with complete indifference to the approaching battle. Engineer So-Jin had placed a small cushion near the navigation station where he could observe the quantum communication array. Already his ears were turning forward as he detected nanite activity. Nacho is picking up enemy surveillance, So-Jin reported. Multiple contacts throughout the ship. This was expected. The Devourers would be flooding Coalition ships with nanites to gather intelligence about battle plans and troop movements. But for the first time in the war, the Coalition could see the spies. Security Chief Miran coordinated with cats throughout the fleet through the new feline early warning network. On her tactical display, she could see real-time reports from dozens of ships about nanite infiltration patterns. The enemy surveillance is heaviest around command centers and weapons systems, Miran reported. They are focusing on ships without cat coverage. Perfect, Captain Tejo said. Let them watch the ships that cannot detect them. We will coordinate our real battle plans through the cat-protected vessels. Admiral Young-Sik had developed a completely new tactical doctrine for this battle. Instead of the rigid military formations that the Devourers had learned to predict, the Coalition fleet would use what he called chaos tactics, unpredictable, improvisational maneuvers inspired by cat behavior. All ships with feline integration implement Protocol Whiskers, Admiral Young-Sik ordered. Follow your cat's instincts and trust your human intuition over standard military doctrine. The order would have been considered insane under normal circumstances. Military commanders did not make strategic decisions based on pet behavior and gut feelings, but these were not normal circumstances. Pilot Jinwoo watched Nacho carefully as the first wave of Devourer fighters approached. The cat's behavior had become his primary navigation guide over the past few weeks. When Nacho's attention focused on a particular area, it usually meant that area was about to become dangerous. Nacho is looking toward the port side, Jinwoo reported. I think we are about to get company from that direction. Sure enough, a squadron of Devourer fighters uncloaked exactly where Nacho had been staring. But instead of following standard evasive maneuvers, Jinwoo did something completely unpredictable. He rolled the ship upside down and accelerated directly toward the enemy formation. The Devourer pilots were so surprised by this aggressive and illogical maneuver that they failed to react in time. Jinwoo flew through their formation, firing weapons in all directions, before spinning away in a corkscrew pattern that no military academy had ever taught. Direct hit on 3 enemy fighters, Weapons Officer Tae-young reported. Enemy formation broken. Throughout the fleet, human pilots were abandoning textbook tactics in favor of intuitive, chaotic maneuvers. Ships dove and weaved through space like cats chasing laser pointers. Formation flying gave way to independent hunting patterns. Coordinated strikes became opportunistic pouncing. The Devourers had never faced anything like it. Their hive mind. Intelligence was designed to analyze predictable military patterns and develop counter-strategies. But chaos had no pattern to analyze. Commander Velthari was initially horrified by the breakdown of military discipline. This is not how space battles are fought, he protested as he watched human ships performing impossible maneuvers. Maybe that is why we keep losing, Captain Tejo replied. The Zentorian officer studied the tactical displays with growing amazement. Despite the apparent chaos, the Coalition ships were performing better than they ever had before. Enemy fire was missing targets that should have been easy to hit. Human crews were anticipating Devourer movements with uncanny accuracy. How are they predicting enemy actions without following standard tactical analysis? Velthari asked. They are not predicting, Medical Officer Haya Wan said as she monitored crew performance data. They are reacting. Human intuition combined with months of observing cat behavior has created a new form of combat awareness. The Kriktar warriors were delighted by the new tactics. Their own fighting style had always emphasized individual initiative and aggressive opportunism. They immediately adapted to the chaos approach and began hunting Devourer ships like a pack of giant space mantises. The small predators have taught us new ways to hunt, the lead Kriktar announced with satisfaction. We fight like true warriors now instead of like machines. But the battle was far from over. The massive Devourer construction platform was still operational and building something terrible in the center of the enemy formation. Chief Science Officer Quan Su analyzed the energy readings and felt his blood turn cold. That platform is constructing a quantum collapse weapon, Quan Su reported. If they complete it, they can collapse local space-time and take the entire star system with them. The weapon was hidden inside the construction platform where conventional sensors could not detect it. But throughout the Coalition fleet, cats were exhibiting extremely agitated behavior. They sensed something massive and dangerous that existed, partially outside normal reality. Nacho jumped onto Captain Tejo's command chair and began making urgent meowing sounds. His pupils were fully dilated and his tail was twitching frantically. Every cat in the fleet was displaying similar behavior. The cats are detecting something big, Sojin reported. Whatever the Devourers are building, it is causing quantum disturbances on a massive scale. Can you pinpoint the location? Captain Tejo asked. Sojin studied Nacho's behavior carefully. The cat was staring directly at the construction platform and making small chirping sounds of the type he used when he was frustrated by prey he could not reach. "Center of the enemy formation," she said. Inside that mobile platform, Admiral Young-Sik coordinated a desperate assault on the construction platform. Ships with cat coverage could navigate through the chaotic battle while avoiding nanite surveillance. Ships without cats provided distraction by engaging the main devourer fleet. The attack was pure madness from a military perspective. Coalition ships darted between enemy dreadnoughts like cats playing with dangerous toys. They ignored standard attack formations and instead followed their instincts about where to strike and when to retreat. Pilot Jin Woo found himself flying directly toward the construction platform while following Nacho's increasingly urgent signals. The cat was standing on the navigation console, paws pressed against the view screen, staring at something inside the massive enemy structure. "There," Sojin said, interpreting Nacho's behavior. "Whatever they are building, it is in that section right there." Jinwoo aligned the ship's weapons with the area Nacho was indicating. "Firing all weapons at the cat's target," he announced. The concentrated firepower from dozens of coalition ships struck the construction platform simultaneously. The quantum collapse weapon, already unstable from its incomplete construction, overloaded catastrophically. The explosion was visible across 3 star systems. The construction platform vanished in a burst of twisted space-time that sent quantum shockwaves throughout the Devourer fleet. Ships that were too close to the blast simply ceased to exist. Others found their navigation systems permanently disabled as the quantum pulse scrambled their technology. Most importantly, the shockwave destroyed every nanite in the entire star system. The microscopic spy devices dependent on quantum entanglement for their operation were wiped out by the massive quantum disruption. For the first time in 3 years, the Devourers were fighting blind. The remaining battle was swift and decisive. Without their intelligence advantage, the Devourer hive mind could not adapt to the Coalition's chaotic tactics. Human crews, inspired by months of observing feline independence and unpredictability, fought with creativity and intuition that the enemy could not counter. Captain Tejo watched the last Devourer ships retreat into faster-than-light travel. The immediate threat was over, but more importantly, the nanite surveillance network had been permanently disabled. Future battles would be fought on equal terms. Nacho had returned to his favorite spot on the bridge and was once again cleaning, his paws with complete indifference to the celebration happening around him. As far as he was concerned,